All right, guys, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory. I am Shakim B. And here we're all about diving into the real stuff that empowers us to live our most authentic lives. Today, we'll be talking about something very deeply personal and crucial for us as women, that is intuition. Why we have it, why we ignore it, and how we can start tuning into that inner voice that often knows us better than we know ourselves. So grab a cozy spot. If you're driving, just settle in. Let's get into this. Okay, so intuition, we all have it, especially as women, right? It's that little whisper in our minds or that nudge in our gut that just knows something even when we can't put our finger on it. And yet, so many of us have it, myself included, have at one point or another chosen to ignore it. Well, why? There's comfort in what's familiar. There's pressure to be nice or reasonable. And sometimes it's just plain scary to listen to something that doesn't come up with a guarantee or a clear explanation. But here's the thing, intuition is real, it's a gift. And today I want to share a story of a time when I chose not to listen to my intuition and how that choice taught me one of the biggest lessons in my life. Now, sidebar, this is just one story, and I definitely do attest to the fact that a byproduct of me not following my intuition has led me in the same situation time and time again. So, just full disclosure. So, I was once dating this guy, right? And at the beginning of the relationship, when we were just talking, you know, I had asked him, I said, what's your astrology? Like, what's your big three? And me being very big on astrology and knowing how the elements mix, I told him, I said, this is not going to work. It's definitely not going to work. Simply because he has an air moon sign, and I'm very big on emotion, right? And so with air moon signs, emotionally, they tend to um, do a lot of introspection on their feelings, and just depending on how aware they are, some of them are okay with divulging their emotions. But me, I'm like 90% water. So just knowing that, and at that particular time, how much emotional investment I would have needed, I kind of already called it. But something inside of me, um, ego, chose to continue on the relationship and almost kind of like force it, right? And, there were so many times in the relationship where I felt like things were off, right? Something's not right. And, to my avail, I was right every single time. So as the relationship came to an end, long before it actually physically ended, I kind of found myself checking out just because I knew it wasn't going anywhere, right? But again, ego sometimes can be very strong. Um, and there's that. So one day I remember sitting alone thinking to myself, why am I here? Why am I putting so much energy into something that feels so heavy? And it hit me. I was betraying myself and ignoring my own truth. My intuition wasn't telling me to ruin my life, and it was there to guide me and to protect me. And that was the moment I knew that staying in a relationship that was no longer an option. Walking away was hard, of course, and even though I knew that I had to walk away, um, it actually took him breaking up with me to come to this grand scheme of uh, realization that, you know what I'm saying, my ego was hurt because he left, but it was my ego. it felt like a weight was lifted off of me, because again, when something is not meant for you, it won't be for you. So everything that can go wrong in that relationship will go wrong, and every trigger that you have will indeed be triggered. And that's kind of like your body's sense of saying, hey, like, this is not the right situation for you. What are we doing here? Why are we still here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're tolerating and putting up with so much bad behavior and disrespect. You know what I'm saying? So after that experience, I promised myself I'd never ignore my intuition like that again. Because here's the truth. As women, our intuition are the most powerful gifts. It's not this airy, mystical thing. It's grounded and it's real and it's here to serve us. I said in a previous episode that the creator, Mother Gaia, knew that women would be diluted in the mind from the potency of, intimacy with men. And knowing this, and that our logic would be kind of swayed, she gave us intuition. And it's crazy because we dismiss it, and we, try to find ways to rationalize why our intuition is not correct, why it's wrong. We try to find logic in the most absurd ways, things that don't make sense. All right. So you might be wondering, okay, that sounds great, but how do I start trusting my intuition? So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. Here are some steps that have helped me, and maybe they'll resonate with you too. Step one, you want to quiet the noise. It sounds obvious, but in a world full of social media and constant options, it's easy to drown out your own voice. Try to spend a few minutes each day just sitting in silence, breathe, check in with how you feel, and what you can hear, right? And to go deeper into that, one of the things that I have started implementing is, daily, I like to implement daily meditations. So, for the most part, I'll do meditation at nighttime before I go to bed, just to obviously quiet down my mind, for one, but for two, to see what I can hear, because I have clairaudience. Some people are very clairaudient, but they don't realize that they are, right? And the reason why we kind of like tune out these extra gifts that we have is because we're so overly stimulated in the day, that it kind of like goes completely over our head, right? The second thing is physical clues. Our intuition often speaks through our bodies. Maybe it's a knot in your stomach, a feeling of tightness, or a rush of calm. Pay attention to those cues because they're there for a reason. Now, to speak deeper into that, I noticed that when I am in close proximity to certain energies or people, my anxiety starts going off the Richter. And I'm reading this book. I'll talk about it in another, because I can't remember. Her name is Teal something. She wrote How to Love Yourself. And one of the things that she put in her book is she talks about anxiety, and how when you rearrange anxiety, it's any exit, right? So that's the way of that energy that's in your body to get, it's trying to find any way to get out, right? So if you notice like a surge of like anxiety or butterflies or anything like that, that is a strong cue that that's not where you're supposed to be, right? And just to speak more on that, I know, people used to talk about, and I've experienced this so many times. Oh my God, it's not even crazy. It is crazy. Sorry, it's not even funny. How, you could just be talking to somebody, and what I'm saying, like, they give you such excitement inside, but the excitement is not excitement. It's like anxiety. Like, you feel it in the pit of your stomach. 9 times out of 10, that is really the body's way of telling you that that is not where you're supposed to be. But we are so ego driven that we have been programmed to just ignore that. We throw it out, throw it away because it doesn't matter. The ego says, this person is so cute, or they're just whatever, you know? So you want to steer away from that. Journaling is another really good way to stay in tune with your intuition, right? So, coincidentally, in that same book that I was reading yesterday, she was actually talking about how we often ignore ourselves, right? And if you're like a pack animal like me, human interaction is really important, but I'm also in a phase of isolation, which means that I limit my human interaction direly because I realize that I have to find myself first and correct all of the things inside before I start going out and like I'm pretty much like redeveloping myself, right? So when I start going back out and looking for human interaction, I want to make sure that I'm in a right place. I'm in also a safe space, not for apathy. I'm not a safe space for apathy at all or narcissism. In fact, I've been arming myself with knowledge, okay? But just as far as being able to realize, hey, is this person emotionally safe? Is, this person a good, is this a good energy to be around? Just getting in tune with myself so that way I know myself so well that nobody else can get anything over or off on me, period, right? So just journaling is a way to acknowledge yourself. I usually do journal when I get home from work. Sometimes I'll start in the beginning of the day and just say all of the things that I'm grateful for. I write down the feelings that I'm having at that particular moment and then kind of just sort through. It's just the way of me sorting through the emotions that I'm feeling and setting a directive to where I want to go for the day. And then the last thing is practicing small decisions. So trust builds over time, and you can start listening to your intuition on small stuff, little by little. You're building the confidence to trust when it matters the most. So basically, um, one exercise is I drive for a living, okay? And what I like to do, and funny enough, I've been doing this for years. I don't know where the idea came from, but it works. So maybe it'll help somebody else, right? If you drive, try going somewhere, right? Let's say you use GPS to get from point A to point B, right? And now you have to go back home. But usually you would use your GPS to get back home. What I would strongly suggest is using your intuition, right? So visualize where you're at and where you're trying to go. And then just drive if you have gas in your car. Obviously, if you don't have enough gas, you don't want to try this because then you'll end up lost on the side of the street, and that's no fun. Okay. So, in closing, if you take away one thing from today's episode, let it be this: your intuition is a voice of truth within you. Trust and nurture it and let it guide you. It may not always be easy and it might lead you down paths that you feel uncertain, but those paths will ultimately lead you to come back to yourself. And there's no journey more worth taking. Thank you for spending time on this with me. I hope this conversation resonated and maybe even sparked something inside of you. If it did, please share this episode with another woman who needs to hear this message today. And as always, let's continue to trust, to grow, and to walk this path together. Thanks, guys. You've been listening to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and connect to us on YouTube and social media. And remember, when we trust ourselves, we're unstoppable. Until next time, stay true to yourself and keep moving forward. And also let me know if this resonated with your vision for the episode. Make sure you comment down below. Peace and hair grease.